Hey y'all! Hey, it's Aaron. Today, tea, tea for two. No, tea for me. Maybe tea for you. I am drinking Earl Grey tea. Time for a story, yo. What kind of story you want to talk about today? I'll tell you what kind of story we're going to talk about today. Fireworks! Woo! Fireworks! Growing up in the 80s, I grew up in a little place called Denver, Colorado. And in Denver, Colorado, or in Colorado in general, you are only allowed to have fireworks. What is a firework, Aaron? Aaron, a firework is you set it off and it can go up in the air 10 to 15 feet, and that's it. It's pretty, it's a fountain, it's whatever sparkly colors are out there. What it is not, though, is something that blows up. That's a firecracker. And in the state of Colorado, you can't have firecrackers. Why? Who made this rule? Supposed to be the USA. Blow stuff up. Be happy. No, can't have it. Sorry. Done. So, do you want to know more about fireworks and firecrackers? Of course you do. That's why we're here. Stories. What I wanted to tell you is in this particular story, it was around the time of the water balloon story. It was in early July, and my dad had talked to me because my birthday is in mid-July, and he said, "Hey, we're going to do something special for you this year." And I thought, what special are we going to do? And that's when I learned the lie. The happy lie wasn't that we weren't going to have a fun time. It's that my dad decided that we're going to combine the 4th of July with my birthday and all in one have a good time together. Two things at once. Ding, ding, ding. No, never a good idea to have two things at once. Never, ever, ever. But some people think you need to have two things at once. And that is where the problem lies. Sometimes it's good for 2 for 1, and sometimes it's bad 2 for 1. In this particular case, you'll hear why. Okay, so here we are. My dad has come up with this idea, and we're going to drive to the great state of Wyoming, because in the great state of Wyoming, you can buy all the fireworks and all the firecrackers that you want. And you gotta remember, this is the 1980s, so some people don't follow the law exactly to what it says or get the permits that you need to do certain things in life because there's not a lot of people. And again, my house had a huge backyard and it was next to a secondary roadway. And beyond that was just fields all the way until you hit the hogback, which was 20 something miles away. So the only people around us were our immediate neighbors. So my dad's brilliant idea was to take his 3 sons one weekend on a road trip up to Wyoming. So we drove up to Wyoming the weekend of June before the 4th of July weekend. So we were about a week or 2 weeks in front of that. So my dad gets us all in the car and he takes us on a road trip up I-25 and we go past, the edge of the city and then eventually past Loveland and past Fort Collins. And of course, he's got his boys with us, so we don't have to actually stop to pee. We can just jump out of the car and pee in the bush, all that good stuff. And so we get up to, I believe it was Cheyenne, Wyoming is where he took us. There's some area around Cheyenne. And so my dad pulls up to the first fireworks stand that he sees, and he's like, "Yep, this is the one, guys." And so we all pile out of the car, and my dad stands there, and he hands each one of us $20. Back in the day, $20 goes a really long way. It's almost like getting $100 today, right? As a little kid, you got to remember, we're all young kids. So At the time, my younger brother would have been about 8. I would have been 9 and a bit because I was going to turn 10 in the upcoming birthday, which is also part of the woohoo, it's July. And so my dad also said, okay, and then gave 20 bucks to my older brother. And he, of course, had his own money because he has a paper route and he gets to do whatever he wants because he's the oldest. So now all of us have the 20 bucks from my dad. And he's like, okay, go hard, kids. Let's go check it out. So then we're, scouring through the fireworks and we're learning about firecrackers and that they blow up and they have crazy cats, and the cats are all these like strings of fireworks that right, and then they have things like M60s and M80s, which are like these little cherry looking things, look like tomatoes with sticks out of them, and they're waterproof, so you can throw them in ponds and they blow up in the pond, and depending upon which one you get, an M50 or 60 or an 80, depends on how big the explosion is when it happens. And then you've got Roman candles that shoot fire bombs at each other. And they have little tanks that like spray and then they'll shoot little reports out at you. And there were all kinds of things, right? So we went through the whole gambit of stuff. And then my dad is over in the corner talking to the guy about the goods, the real goods, the stuff that shoots, 50, 60, 100 feet in the air and then explodes into a giant firework, fire happiness, like you would see at your town show, right? So my dad is off with this guy learning how to buy like a pyrotechnic setup because he's basically told the guy he's doing it for his town or whatever, like whatever happiness he told the guy back in the day was, I don't know the whole gist of it because remember, I'm a 9-year-old kid. I have no clue what the adults are actually talking about in the corner. I can only imagine today as an adult what that actual conversation was. And knowing my dad, he probably twisted it just enough to make it sound legitimate to this guy. And then the guy ended up selling him quite a bit of firework. But it wasn't just fireworks, not just fountains and beautiful colors that only go 15 feet in the air. He sold the guy stuff that shot 250 feet in the air. And it was, at the time, we didn't know. We were just like, that's dead. That's getting this stuff. So my dad buys, we'll call it a trunk load of stuff for 4th of July weekend. My older brother took the 20 bucks that he was given, plus another like $20 or $30 of stuff, and bought it all up. He also was really in the mood for blowing stuff up on this particular 4th of July weekend. And then my younger brother and I are the smart Connie kind of kids. So we took 10 bucks, bought stuff, took the other 10 bucks, shoved it in our pockets so we could later on go to the baseball card shop and buy baseball cards. Smart thinking sometimes. As a young kid, you gotta sometimes be entrepreneurial and figure out how to use your money that suits you best. So we drive back with all the fireworks in the trunk of the car. My dad stashes it all somewhere in the house, doesn't tell mom, and then, talks with everybody. Okay, this is the plan. We're going to invite all the neighbors over. We're going to tell everybody we're going to have a big 4th of July barbecue. We're going to get everybody in the neighborhood over. Everyone's going to sit on the hill, and then we'll blow off some of the fireworks that everyone's bought and, we'll have a good old time. So that's the plan. But twofold it, my dad decides, well, since AJ's birthday is coming up, we'll also, I'm AJ, by the way. He used to call me AJ. It's his nickname for me, which is also the nickname for the dog. I know. I don't know. He's not around anymore to ask. I don't know why. It's just what it was. He's like, okay, number 2 is that we're going to have AJ's birthday party at the same time. That way it'll be a big celebration because the whole group of everybody will be there. And then we can get some presents and whatever else, right? So that's my dad's plan. My mom She agrees to it. She's like, screw it. All right, you guys have at it. I'll make sure I get the cake. So my mom is in charge of cake. My dad is in charge of barbecue, and he's in charge of entertainment. My mom doesn't really know that the entertainment is all these firecrackers that he bought up in Wyoming. She just thinks we got sparklers and fountains and the generic stuff. Okay. Everybody in the neighborhood's excited. They all know my dad throws a good barbecue. They're all excited about the barbecue. People bring over presents. We have this huge deck and a huge backyard. So everyone's out in the yard and we're doing the thing. It's like 5, 6 in the afternoon. Everyone's eating, having a good 4th of July weekend. The adults, of course, are drinking their beers and their wines and whatever. And then it rolls around into that like 7:30, 8 o'clock hour. And that's dusk back then, right? For us down in Colorado. So dusk hits. My dad lets us take all the little tiny fireworks and firecrackers that we have in fountains and we blow them off in the cul-de-sac out front. And then we bring everybody back into the back because my dad says, I have a few extras in the back that I've set up. And if everybody joins me out back, we'll shoot off those ones. And then, they'll continue the party into the evening or whatever. And so we go out back, and my dad has set up this like launch pad that nobody saw, right? And so now he's gone down to the launch pad, and he starts lighting them like 1, 2, 3, 4, like the guy up north told him. Okay, you do like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then after that you do number 5, 6, 7, 8, or whatever the sequence is, right? And so my dad's down there and bop, 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 bop. And then next thing you know, like you hear, and everybody is like, just instantly like looking at him down below to like, what has this happened? So everyone's eyes up in the air, boom, 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 boom. And these things are going off 50, 100, 175 feet in the air. Bam! And like big mushrooms, just like the local fair would be at. And then, as soon as the first one hits, he's down there lighting more. Bop, 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 bop. And then ping, ping, ping. He had a show that goes on for like 25 minutes. So my dad's down there like just lighting stuff and shooting stuff in there. Everyone's cheering and screaming and yelling and clapping. And oh man, it was the best. It was the best 4th of July fireworks in anyone's backyard I have ever been to and I've ever seen. Even some of the stuff up here in Canada when I've gone to someone's lake cottage doesn't even come close to matching the amount of fireworks I saw for my 10th birthday. So now all the fireworks are done, all the firecrackers have gone off, all the stuff my brother had bought, all the stuff we had bought, it's all done. My dad doesn't tell anybody, but he's got a surprise waiting, just hanging out. He wants to shoot it off at midnight because he wants it to be like the boom end of the party. So as we're all hanging out, talking, whatever, the police show up as they would because you've just shot off like $1,000 worth of firecrackers. So somebody else in the neighborhood who wasn't invited to the party got upset because they were trying to go to bed. And so they decided to call the police on the 4th of July and complain about the noise coming out of our backyard. So the police show up, and this is why I think there was a 2-for-1 idea in my dad's head. So the police show up to the house. No one's at the front door where they were knocking and ringing the doorbell, of course, because everyone's out back. And they finally realize, all the people are out back. So they walk around on one side of our house. They walk the sidewalk side. And they come out back, and there's people on the deck. And, of course, someone sees the cop, and they, oh, hey, you're looking for Mr. So-and-so. And so they walk around the corner, and they find my dad. And so the police are like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, we got some noise complaints. We heard there's like a bunch of firecrackers going off somewhere. Do you happen to know anything about it? And so my dad is like, yeah, we had a handful of firecrackers that we sent off because we got them up in Wyoming. And I was told by the local whoever that we could fire them off on the 4th of July because it's part of our whole tradition, yada, yada, yada. And so the police officer is like, well, sir, you can have some, but they have to be fireworks and they can't go over the 15 feet rule and they can't have a rapport, which means they can't have any sound to them. So they can't have any booms or shots or, rapports in those. But it sounds like maybe some of the stuff you brought up in Wyoming isn't fireworks, but they're firecrackers. And so my dad plays in the innocent, like, oh, I didn't know any of this. And so the guy, this policeman, starts talking to him. And of course, in the background, my older brother down below, and he shoots off some Roman candles just straight up in the air. But these aren't just your regular average Roman candles. These are ones that shoot up in the air 20, 30 feet and then have a nice little rapport to them. So away he goes, bing, 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 poof, poof, poof. And the police officer's staring at my dad like, whose kid is that? And my dad turns, looks at my older brother and is like, Brian, get over here. And so Brian comes right up the hill, right? And he's like 15, 16. So he also has the thing about not talking to the police. I got this off my friend Ricky, who was up in Wyoming and who bought some of these extras. And I'm sorry, I didn't realize that we were not allowed to shoot them. And so the cop is like, do you have any more? And they're like, oh, we have a couple more. And he's like, okay, look, I'm going to let you go ahead and fire those off while we're here. And then no more. And my dad says, yeah, sure, we'll not do this ever again, right? He's telling the guy. And the policeman goes, look, mister, if you want to have firecrackers and you want to blow them off in your backyard, you need to have a permit. If you can obtain a permit to fire them off, then it's okay and no one can say anything to you. You had fireworks or firecrackers or whatnot, but because you would be showing us a permit, it would be okay. And so they gave my dad a loophole. So for the rest of his life, my dad would go buy a permit and then go to Wyoming and buy firecrackers to blow them off for the 4th of July. What are the lessons here? I mean, there's so many lessons here, it's really hard to tell. The lessons here are, you should know what kind of laws there are in your area before you just buy stuff and shoot them off.